Hey there, everybody. It's Kate Richburg, and it's that time. And I'm live. Isn't that amazing? I think it's amazing. Let's see, which way do I want to go? I think I want to go this way. This way. That's where I want to go. I'm still learning the layout of my studio space here. There we go. That looks good, I think. I think I'm all set. Let me get some of that height from above down a little bit. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Today is Wednesday, July 27th. And um, here we are back together after my week of stone setting. I made it home safely. What an adventure that was. So, thank you so much for those of you who came along on my adventure and saw some of my live broadcast from my adventurous Airbnb. So, but it was great. So, I do want to take just a moment and say a big shout out to the new Approach School for Jewelers in just outside of Franklin, Tennessee. That's where I was last week. What an amazing experience it was. It's not for the faint of heart. And I was in there with a bunch of like real bench jewelers. So I'll tell you, it was something, but it was great. So I really, really recommend it. They have other classes, advanced classes. They have a 12-week program that you can go and emerge as a really accomplished bench jeweler, if that's something that ever interests you. So if you want to go work at a bench at Tiffany and Company or even your local jewelry store or just further your jewelry skills, it's amazing. They also have an engraving program there that's pretty darn amazing. So we'll see if we'll see if I move forward to engraving. But first, these hands have to continue to set stones. So anyway, that's that. So a big hello. It's great to see all of you all here. I hope that you enjoyed this past weekend of the Great Bead Extravaganza. I wanted to say a big thank you again for all of your support during that weekend. And thank you so much. I'm so pleased that you loved those kits. We've got a fourth color coming around the corner, so stay tuned to your newsletters. I think you're really going to enjoy them. A big hello over to Janice over on YouTube. She's healing away from that knee surgery, so she's doing all right. And of course, we've got Gita over on Facebook, the land of our Tour de France champion. So now that that tour is over, watching a little bit of the women's tour, but summer sports are so fun. So anyway, today, so what I thought we would do today, and I haven't made one of these in a while, and plus we got these new boards in, and we underestimated how much you loved these boards. And I'm going to show it to you up close. We got a new bead board in. It's a bracelet and anklet design board. And we're also looking at Emily and I were chatting about classes and the upcoming retreat. There's still a couple of spaces left. Got a little mark on the screen that's bugging me. There we go. We've got a couple of spaces left if you can join us, but we were chatting about some of the things that Emily and I are going to be doing live on air with you guys starting in August and moving forward. A few of those things do fall into the bracelet realm. And so this will be news to Janice because we haven't had a chance to chat. But we've found a couple of other really great tools for sizing bracelets. One that I think you're really going to love. One that I have actually over here in my metalsmithing area. It's usually used for metalsmithing. Don't worry, Janet, it's not a super heavy tool, but it's just a small gauge that I was like, why haven't we used this before? So we have a lot of fun things coming up, and Emily has some great things she's going to share. You're actually going to see Emily with me on air in August. I'm going to do a show all about Kumahimo. Um, Emily's been doing Kumahimo for a long time on the traditional big Kumahimo braider. I'm going to be using the smaller disc, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about the history of Kumi, about how Emily learned how to do it, about how I'm going to share my thoughts about doing this. We've got a long road of Kumahimo to go down, so you'll be seeing that. But finally, we're going to be tackling the world of quote unquote Kumi, which is great. I love braiding and knotting, and this falls right into that world for me. And then we're going to start off doing some stuff. Janice has a project that's coming up. She's going to be doing one of our traditional poetries very soon with some new colorways. We're getting some new pearls in and stuff like that. And next week, I have them sitting right here. Let me lean out and lean back in. And I'll show you these up close and personal again at the end of the broadcast as well. But if you remember these from our lookbooks, and if you haven't looked at our lookbooks, or if you're fairly new to watching us here on Beadshop, our learning area on beadshop.com is gigantor, really. We've got so much learning. But we've had these lookbooks. We haven't done one in a while, and so maybe 2023 might be the time to bring a lookbook back, and maybe involve some of you in this lookbook. We did a couple of really cool lookbooks when our design team pre-pandemic was kind of in full swing. The pandemic kind of put a little bit of a monkey wrench in all of that. But one of the lookbooks, it had so many wonderful projects in it. Allie did this project called Sea Crowns, which is the Bollywood, what we call kind of our Bollywood macrame. And it's braided. And so Drea is a great, she just loved this. We all love this project. But so Drea has done these sea crowns. I'm going to do them next week. They involve a 4-strand braid, which is going to be great. So I'm going to be playing around with these. So you guys will see these next week. But I wanted to share those with you guys just real quick so you could see kind of what's coming up. Also on Friday, whatever that date is, today is live, July 27th. I don't know where July went, I'll tell you, right? It was gone with the Tour de France riders, I think. Friday's the 29th. You guys have been waiting for this show. What I'm going to do is I'm pre-recording it because Friday I'm going to actually have some time with my besties, my high school and college besties, some well-needed friend time. I'll tell you, well-needed friend time. So I'm pre-recording a show for you guys to add to our bead shop basics. You guys have been waiting for a show about glue. So I'm going to talk about all 3 glues that we carry. We're going to do some gluing. And so it'll be a good kind of short reference for you guys. So you'll be able to refer to it back without having to watch a long show like this one, right, that I'm going to do here. But I really love our live broadcasts. So you can always, if you watch us live and you're like, Kate, I love to see you, but let's make the chit chat short. You can always kind of fast forward about 5 minutes, take that little slider, 5 to 10 minutes, and then you'll get to the real meat and heart of this project. So this project is called Rainforest, and you'll see it right on the front page of beadshop.com. There's a link right now on the home page. And you'll find the list. I've done other charm bracelets in the past with chain, and you can go and see all of those guys. This one's called Rainforest. It has what we call a quote-unquote recipe. Over on the left, you'll see that recipe. And over on the right, you'll see exactly what it is I used in this piece. This is a great project to bust your stash, right? You can use a bunch of different chains. I mean, I hope you use this and I hope you love this colorway and I hope you order every single one of these beads, right? But if you're like, you know what? I have so many of these pieces at home that I just kind of want to make one. It's a great way to kind of get your feet wet back with wire wrapping if you haven't wire wrapped much. Looks like my mom's watching. What my mom, oh, thanks, Ma. That was nice of her to say. Our learning section is epic. It is an amazing resource. We have so much in there for you. And so I've been thinking about this as I like to do, especially if I haven't made the project pre-show. What a surprise. You know, some things never change. But it also kind of forces me sometimes to really think about what it is I'm going to make and come up with some different ideas. So the way that we I'll show you let me move the camera and I'll show you the projects, okay? And then we'll kind of talk about this. And Sherry, you're asking about it's been a while since you've watched a live show. Yes, this is my home studio right here. We are right in my home studio. So it's very exciting for me. So let me switch cameras here, all you all, and and let's look at this mess. Sorry, I should have repositioned. There we go. Let's take a look what I've got here. And then it got me also thinking about the bead design board and about measuring and that kind of thing. So here's the bead design board, right? That we just got in. It just launched on Tuesday. Of course, you guys loved it. Of course, we're out of it, but we have some coming back in fast on the fast track. So if you're watching this live or if you're watching it later and we've sold out, just add yourself to the notification list, you guys, and you'll get a notification as soon as it comes back into stock. The notification list, you've got to know that if you're on the notification list, there are probably like 20 other people on the list as well. So you want to make sure that if you see that notification in your email box, that you jump on it and grab it so it doesn't sell out again. It's still kind of pandemic supply chain, things are slower to get now. So, but we will have these back in. I don't know why we didn't carry these before. Janice, maybe they're new. I don't know. They're kind of new to us anyway. And so, excuse me, I had to take a little racing cup of coffee there. So you might have heard a coffee gulp. But it also comes with a lid. And what they see here, travelers, for the beader on the go, which it sounds like, we're going to jump on a Pan Am plane and go somewhere exotic because we're a beader on the go, right? So yeah, they are big. They're a big bead board. So, and it's flocked. And so it is, let me measure it for you. It's 13.5 inches by about 10 inches here, right? And it comes with this little lid. And, if you're a beader on the go, you could dump all of your stuff, your business here in the lid too, right? Maybe you can put on a little cookie sheet or something so it has a little support underneath. But it comes with the lid. I'm probably going to lose that lid, probably, or put it somewhere where I won't be able to find it. So it also has in inches and centimeters. You can lay out your beads and kind of see how they'll look. So you can see, here's the photo. So can you see here in this photo, you can lay out your beads, as a bracelet in the round like that. You can put your extra beads in these little channels, right? You can see that. You can also lay your pieces out flat, which is kind of cool, right? So, so there's a lot of different ways you can use this, and I'm kind of a fan of it. So, if let me show you. Let me move this over here a little bit. There we go. So I was thinking about my charm bracelet this morning, right? And my mom will attest to this. I have a lot of charm bracelets, and some of you have seen it. It may be somewhere in our archives where I share my charm bracelet, um, my charm bracelet collection. I have a charm bracelet for every decade of my life, and then some extra ones as well. So it's kind of fun to I've collected charms for forever and ever. So charm bracelets always, I think, kind of have a vintage vibe to them and are kind of fun to wear. So I thought, I've given you guys plenty of beads to work with in the list you can see here. And I thought, well, I could just do something single, but the way that we sell chain, right, is by the foot. So I have, if I cut this chain in half, I can, or fold it in half, I can have a 2-strand bracelet. Okay. So I think I'm going to do it double. And I'm going to come back to this board in a second, but you'll see it just gives me a quick measurement here just by laying out the chain. See how it goes from 0 and it works its way out here, right? So I can put this guy on 0 here and I can work my way out this way. Or if I were doing a round bracelet, let's say I wanted a 9-inch bracelet or an anklet, that would probably be an anklet. I would probably string this probably 7.5 incher right here, like this. So I'm gonna come back to this, but I wanted to show you guys this. There was one quick question about the lid, about if the lid holds securely enough to put projects on hold and set aside. Whoops, sorry, I pushed this comment. That was a nice comment from JP. So it has these little, see these little indentations there that go with these indentations on the board. So see how I'm just picking it up. Whoops, don't drop your coffee, Richard. See how I'm just kind of picking it up at the side. So with beads in it, it might be a little bit heavier, but it does lock in. Can you see that there? So there is something that helps hold on to it. I mean, I don't think you want to toss it around or anything, but I think that the lid will stay on pretty securely. So thanks for that question. That's a great question. So let's start by, I've got my yard of chain, okay, my 12 inches. And my wrist size is about 6.5. Okay, let's just measure for fun just to double check. So tightened like this, it's about 6.5 inches. Okay, so this chain, if I fold it in half and I don't cut it, if I have a loop over on this side and then I have you know, a 2 open ends on this side, door to door is what I like to say. It's about 6.25. Okay. Now the what do I want to say? The clasp I chose is a toggle. Now you can use any type of clasp you want, right? I love a toggle again because it has kind of a vintage flair. to it. The thing you want to remember about a toggle when you're using a toggle in a bracelet or a necklace, the toggle, when you put it on, it pulls through that loop, right? And then comes back and sits. So here with this doubled over chain like this, see how I have a single chain here and two there. So I want to make sure that this is going to work. Okay, so I am using our oval jump rings. Not only do our oval jump rings kind of mimic the oval chain, this chain that I'm using is called Feel Good in satin gold. You can use any kind of chain you want. This chain has a pretty big loop to it. And then the jump rings, I'm using a 6mm jump ring, a 20 gauge. Okay, so I'm just going to attach the clasp, and I'm going to see, number one, this is going to allow me to kind of see how the chain fits with this length. So see how I'm putting the two there, the bulkier side, adding the loop side, closing it up with my bent chain and my regular chain. Then I have this single over here, right? It's slimmer. So I'm going to come in, get my oval. And this may not be the right length either, but that's no big deal. What I want to figure out right now is are the mechanics of this going to work? Okay, so see when I pull it through and see how that single loop comes, the mechanics work fine. Now, let me see if it fits on my wrist. Okay, let me see if there's any questions on this so far. No. Okay. So, if I come in and I put it on, that's about the right length. See that clasp adds plus those jump rings add just about the right length for me. So I know I'm good to go. So now all I need to do is embellish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the clasp off on this side so that I can spread the chain out and start planning my embellishment. I chose the African turquoise because I wanted something that will visually unify this design. Okay, now a charm bracelet is kind of meant to look like kind of like a big old mess sometimes, right? Because it's charms, they're all different, right? But maybe I want something that kind of looks like a big old mess, but also is kind of has some like a through line to it, I guess, if that makes any sense to you guys at all, right? So I can be symmetrical or asymmetrical, but I wanted the colors and I wanted the 3 different sizes of these African turquoise to help kind of unify. Okay, and then I also used, Janice and I have decided these are our most favorite bead in the whole wide world that we're carrying right now. So vintage. It's the faceted oval. It's sapphire teal Picasso with a gold wash, and it's a check faceted oval. And I think it just looks terrific with these guys. So I'm going to throw some 4mm out here. I'm not quite sure where I'm going to use them yet. Okay. Lynn, you notice the bracelet that I was wearing. This piece is an old vintage piece. Long story short. It belonged to a dear, dear friend of my grandmother's. It's an old Navajo piece that probably dates from the 1930s. And my mom actually just gave this to me out of her collection because my mom had it for a while. And so I've been wearing it kind of like a talisman, especially through all this travel and everything. So thank you for noticing. I did not make this. This is the real deal with old, this is probably Kingman turquoise hand cut, turquoise cabochon. So thank you for noticing. It's a really a special piece in my collection. So I've been wearing it quite a bit. It's inspiring me. That plus I'm wearing one of the rings I set last week is bringing me back to my jewelry making roots. So yeah, it's probably, it could even be from like the 20s. It's probably almost 100 years old. Um, if any of you remember, I have it's a lion head piece that I put on leather. That's also from my grand's friend. Um, the lion's eyes are set with little tiny emeralds. I'll have to wear that sometime. But my love of jewelry started at a very, very early age. No surprise there. So can you see what I'm doing here? Right? I'm I'm doing my mise en place, kind of, right? Like a chef would, right? I'm putting things out that are pleasing to my eye, but what I'm not doing is worrying about it. Okay? Now, I also have to make a decision here about how I want to connect these because I could wire wrap them directly onto this chain. But the thing about these oval jump rings, you guys, why an oval jump ring is so sturdy is because the opening in the side of the jump ring is on the side. Can you see that? So when they hang, they're not going to hang on the opening. The opening is going to be on the side. So it's really a secure way of putting all of these pieces together. So I could wire wrap them directly, but I think I want these to have a lot of swing. So I'm going to connect them with jump rings. And I don't always do that, but I'm going to do it this time. I've also given us a mixture of head pins. I've got a regular flat head pin like this, and I've got some ball head pins like this. Okay, so I'm just going to jump in. I'm going to start in the middle, and I'm going to just make some sections. Now you can see I've used a seed bead. This is a 8mm. This is that celery color we have. It's the 8-2374. And so I can use these guys. Here, maybe I'll put one on the top. And they just add a nice bit of negative space or shape to what I've got. I've also got some 4mm. This is a 4mm fire polish I've got. And then I also have a rondelle, a glass rondelle, which I have a few right here. So I'm just going to start by putting a few of these pieces together, and then I'm going to wire wrap them on. We're going to try and keep some controlled chaos here. Okay, so I've got this. So see how I'm just creating some interesting looking silhouettes on my head pins. Let me use one of these and one of these and one of these. Constructing a, like when you construct a charm bracelet in real life, it's kind of like a puzzle, right? You get a charm from here and from there, and you find where it kind of fits on the chain of your bracelet, right? At least that's how I do it. I'm going to move the rest of this stuff out of the way. So I just have these right now that I'm going to work with. And you can just kind of put them on and see where they fit, right? And then as you get more charms, you put them in along the chain, again, where they fit, like a puzzle. So let's do some fast wire wrapping here. And this, I'm going to go into production wrapping mode. Okay. I have a really good, if I do say so myself, basics on the Beadshop website on how to do your wire wraps. But notice how I did my right angles, right? All at the same time. Let me go a little slower. I'll do one more. I got my bead, my little stem here. Let me do this maybe. Let's see, when I stop to think, I start to overthink it, right? And I go, oh, what am I putting on here? But there we go. Now the first step that I do is I set the tip of my chain nose plier right on the top of that bead right here. And then I bend it right at a right angle like that. And that angle is what I'm going to eventually come down around and wire wrap around. Okay. So I would lay these out and I do a bunch. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe I do 10. I don't know. Whatever looks right. I'm going to start with 5 and see what happens. And then maybe I'll fill in with some shorter pieces. Okay. So now I'm going to get my round nose plier. With the round nose, I'm going to identify where I want my loop, what size loop I want this to be. Okay. Now, wherever you bring the wire up and over the tool, that's how large this loop is going to be. Okay, so I'm going to go up and over like so. And when I go up and over, I'm going to try and hit all of these at that same loop. Now I come down, I pull that segment, beaded segment around, and I pull that wire underneath so it's ready to go. It's ready to wrap. I'm going to give it just a slight tweak, a slight turn, so that, can you see how the loop that I've just made is sitting center over that center head pin? Okay, so now I'm going to do that to all of these, up and over. So I come in. You could also mark this with a Sharpie marker, but I've been wire wrapping for a number of years, so I'm just going to do all of these. Whoops, ADOT, you come back here. Get on there. Put it in. One head on top of the other, up and over the top. Flip that plier up so you open up that space. I tilt my little segment down towards the table, and then center it. Okay, same thing here. Up and over. Down and under, center. Up and over, down and under, and center. Okay, so I've got these guys. Now let's go ahead, and if I were going to attach them now, okay, I would come in and I'd choose, you can see how this chain, how it's directional, right? There's a chain that's kind of flat, right? and a chain that goes towards the side, right? So I'm going to go ahead and kind of pull this tight, and I'm going to attach these dangles to these loops that are going flat like this, okay? So if I were wire wrapping them directly on, I would attach them at this point to the chain here and then wire wrap them on, okay? And so instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold that loop flat in my pliers like so. And I'm going to bring this down and around and do my wraps 180 degrees at a time. And I'm using my bent chain. And I want to hold that loop towards the bottom jaw of my plier here, so I've got a nice grip on it. And I'm going to come in and wrap it around. And this will give me about 3 wraps. Okay? And then I'll put that down. And then I'll go to my next one. And I'm going to do this kind of quickly here as we go around. Hang on to that loop. I hold on to that loop. If there's nothing in it, I hang on to it with my flat nose plier, which gives me more grip. Okay, so there's that. Bring it round, bring it round, and bring it round. Grip that loop. Bring it round, bring it round, and bring it around like that. Okay, and here, like so. Okay, now I'm going to come in and I'm going to clip all of these away. Okay, so here's my flush cutter. Now watch where I cut. I come in and I wedge that cutter, and what I've done, this really is like 2.5 wraps, right? So when I wedge that tip right in there and I'm clipping it down towards my velvet pad, I'm covering it so it doesn't come up and hit me in the face. Then once I've clipped it, I can come in either with my bent or my straight chain nose and push down that little tip there. And there we have it. Okay. So I'm going to clip all of these now. Clip. Put that aside. Clip. Put that piece aside. Clip. And clip. Okay. Now I'll come in with that chain nose. And this is how I assembly line, how I kind of batch all of these tasks together. And I feel like it makes your project go a little more quickly instead of, kind of laboring over, whoops, and see what I told myself not to do this. And I did it right when I was doing this. So see how I had that 8/0 right at the top and I went in to push that in. I was a little aggressive and I broke that 8/0 seed bead. There's no use crying over an 8/0 seed bead, kids, right? All I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this away. I'll get a new one. So you need to be careful when you start with the 8/0s, okay? Or end with an 8/0 next to the wire wrap, because as you can see, it's easily cracked with the plier. So I'm just going to put a different bead on the top, or no bead. I didn't have to put a bead up there, but I did. We'll go up and over, down and under, straighten it out, wire wrap it. Sometimes I wire wrap with my hands, right? And clip. There we go. It's like it never happened. Now be really careful when you lay the tip of that plier on. You need to leave space for that little tip to go in and sit, or else you're going to have a sad broken bead like I just did. So there's that. Okay, so we've got this. So now, what do I have? 5. So I am just going to come in, lay out this chain, and I'll attach these. And I guess I'll attach these in this order, the order that they're laid out right here. That works for me. Coming in, opening up that round ring to the side, knowing here's the flat ring right here. Putting it on. Back and forth. Can you see that? I'm going back and forth and also pushing the ring together so it's closed up. Okay. So now I'm going to try and get my beads all on the same side of this chain, though it doesn't really matter, right? When you wear it, it's not really going to be noticed. I'm going to try for it, and then we'll see what happens. So there's that one. So I'll put that one on this one. These chain links are nice and big, right? So I can put a dangle, more than one dangle, I guess is what I'm trying to say, on these links. I can also come in and fill in these links here as well. I don't have to just put them on the link that's facing that way. So whatever works for you. But we're going to close that up, lay that out, come in, open it up, add it, close it up. And I'll do the same thing over here. Okay. So there we have it. So now I can come in and I can keep, I'll just keep creating. These little tiny pieces, there's some discussion in the chat about the tiny pieces. These pieces are so tiny, they're a plate, so I'll just toss these. But if they're smaller pieces, like if I were using sterling silver, of course I'd keep these because I would melt them down and use them for other things. But these I would just toss, right? They're just so small that I would not, I wouldn't use them. But you could use them, as someone is asking here, could they be incorporated into epoxy? Sure. These little pieces could be inlaid into epoxy resin if you're doing kind of like little found object items or whatever. So yeah, you could certainly hang on to those little bits as well. Okay. So now I've got 5. So now I can either do the other large 5 on this side, or I could make a few more that were smaller. So let's get an 8/0. I've got plenty of these he, she. So I'm going to do that. Put those in. Do this. Maybe make some that, you know, are a little tinier. I haven't used many of these little rondelles, so let me do that. Let's throw caution to the wind and put an 8/0 on the top. It may break, but if it does, it does. I don't know, maybe another 4 mil. And a he, she. That's a little small one there. And so that's kind of how I start to think about putting something like this together, right? You don't have to design the whole thing in your head right out of the gate. Okay, so that one will go there. Just let it evolve, literally. I'm going to put 2 of those there. And then this last one, let's see, maybe I'll do a 6 mil on the end. I like the way these little 8/0s work on the bottoms, so I'm going to do that. Okay. So this side, this will probably be everything I need for this side. And then I'll repeat it on the other side. Now you could add more than 2 strands, right? And you could mix your chain. We don't have to use this chain, as I mentioned earlier. It's called Feel Good is the name of the chain that I'm using. However, you could do like a 3-strander, have 2 that are large like this, and 1, maybe that circle back chain we have, or we have a whole bunch of them. So you can use whatever little chain kind of floats your boat there, and you would just attach it. I'd attach it here on this side, and then come across and attach it with a jump ring in this jump ring on the other side there. Okay, so we're just going to go at a high-speed chase here, getting these closed. And as you do more and more of these loops, you're going to get better and better and better and faster at this. But I like batching these tasks so that my hand keeps that muscle memory. So there I hold my loop, and I was doing pretty well with this kind of hand wrapping, so maybe I'll do that. These are about a 20 gauge, just maybe slightly smaller, maybe more like a 21 gauge. So they're pretty malleable to work with. They're not super stiff, which is good. When I work with head pins, when I've worked with head pins in the past that are a little stiff, they can fatigue very easily. The metal can fatigue and work harden and break. So here's that one with that 8/0. Let's see if I can keep it from breaking. There we go. Like so. Okay. And so I'm going to come in and clip all of them. Being careful with that 8/0 at the top and clip and clip like that. Okay. Now I'm going to come in and my wraps are a little looser because I did them by hand, but that's okay. See how I'm just kind of using that bent chain nose to manipulate that one, that wrap, just a little bit. And that one, see, look, I didn't break it. Good job, me. And tighten that one up. And that one. Okay, so now let's open this up. Let's use 2 pliers like you're supposed to here. And let's add them. I'm going to add them onto the links in between because I think that'll look nice. And you can make this as full as you like, so I could come back and even do a 3rd pass on these. But see how it's starting to fill up. Let's turn everything. So why is this one sitting funny? There we go. Turn it all here. Turn that correctly, open it up, add it on right here. And they're all, again, I'm trying to put them all on the same side, so at least they're kind of sitting the way I want them to. Let's see if I'm checking any comments there. Looks like everybody's chatting away, which is good, getting your questions answered. Just got a couple more to put on here, and then we'll take a look. I'm going to try it on, and we'll see what we see. Okay, so here's that one. There's that right there. And I'll turn this over. That one's going to go on that. Let's get this on. Almost ready to check. We've got 2 more. But see how fast this comes together? I mean, you and I have just been sitting here chatting about beads, and I'm almost halfway there on this thing. So scoop that chain, put this on. The way I hold it is I let gravity kind of pull everything down like that, and then we'll go for that last one there. Here and here. Okay, so here is 1. Okay, so that's ready. I could add a couple more down here. It looks a little sparse, right? Janice is saying, don't worry about where the baubles go and let it be a quote-unquote wrist mess. That's right. So yeah, you can do that too. You don't have to lay everything out so perfectly. But let's put this on, and let's close this up, and let's see how this is looking. It would look nice with a 3rd strand of a separate chain. Let me see if I can, I'm going to pull it off camera in just a second so I can work the clasp. Let me see if I can get this on here. Add it to my wrist stack. There we go. And so you can see how nicely all of those sit together. And that 1 foot of chain plus this size toggle plus those jump rings really make that fit perfectly. Okay, really nice. So here we go, just like so. Beautiful. So I will come in, I think I'll fill in a little bit more here and I'll do another line there, but that's really how simple this guy is. Really pretty simple to do. So let me show you. So I've got all my other beads lined up here, so I'll do those and we'll have that photo of that finished piece up. I wanted to show you while I have the camera in this position, Dria's C crowns pieces, right? So this is what we're going to be doing next week. And so we're going to talk about how to use this is the round leather she's used. And we're going to do that macrame over the top, and then I'm going to talk about how to do that for braid. And this is a 10 millimeter clasp here, so this is going to be real fun to do. So join me next week for that one. So however you want to create this, you guys, this would also, I think, make a really nice center for a necklace piece, right? It would hang really nice as a center. And you could get, instead of doing a clasp here, do I have any leather cord? I should have a piece of leather. This isn't the right color, but you could grab your leather and you could attach, instead of this clasp, you could attach your leather on and wire wrap it here, or knot it, or, you know, silk wrap it, or whatever. And this would also make a nice leather piece. You could add some knots. This is 2 millimeter leather, might be a little heavy. Maybe I'd do a double strand. Maybe I'd pull it all the way through like this. Maybe silk wrap it there. And it would also look, you know, really nice as a center. This is just a foot of chain, you guys, so you can go a long way with a foot. Let's say, though, that you were doing this and you're like, you know what, it's just slightly long or slightly short for me, Kate. I need just a little more room. What you could do, especially on this end, since this is on that single end, let me show you how I do that, and then we'll wrap this show up. I'll come in, I'll take this clasp off, and I'll open it up. And what I'll do is I'll make a wire wrap segment, and I'll use one of my pins, one of my head pins for that. I'll come in and I'll cut the head. You can also use your regular, what do I want to say, regular wire for this. Maybe what I do instead of a wire wrap, I'm just kind of thinking if I'm limited to the length of my head pin, maybe I'd do a double wrap like that. And maybe I don't need that much space, that much length. But I could then come back in and then maybe on this side. Or I could also do that double. Watch how I do this, how I bent it. I'm just going to start from back here and roll that wire in so these loops can't pull apart. Then I'll come in and I'll add it to that loop, close it up, get one of my jump rings here, add it here, and close it that way, right? So I've got that little extra space right there, okay? And it still comes in and connects like that. So you could add just a little bit of a length if you felt like you needed it, okay? Well, you guys, let me put my solo back over here. That is that. That is how simple and easy that is. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I love the charm bracelets. I love the wire wrapping. This is a great one, as I say, for stash diving, going into your stash and kind of finding a variety of beads and stuff to use. And then you could always add that third chain in there to, I don't know, kind of mix it up a little bit. So the rest of this week, mark your calendars for Friday. I'm going to do a pre-recorded show for Friday. That's going to be one of our bead shop basics. We're going to go over glue. Okay. And the glue, we're going to talk about E6000, the Zap glue, and the GS Hypo cement. Okay. And then next week on Wednesday, we're going to do that braided C crowns chain, which is going to be good. And the chain that I use, Terry, you asked, it's called Feel Good is the chain. And it's kind of a larger link. But if you go to Beadshop, we've got a whole bunch of different chains that you can try out. But that is a foot. If you go over to, right now it's on the homepage, but if you go to our bracelet section on Beadshop, you go under the learning section and you hit bracelets, you'll see the charm bracelets. You'll see a whole bunch of different ones and all the recipes. So you can kind of mix and match and stuff like that. Shelly's asking, is Zap the same as super glue? It's similar, but it's like a viscous. It's heavier. So we're gonna talk about the properties of that and how I use it. So my darlings, that brings to a close this live version of our charm bracelet. I did want to mention, you guys, don't forget, you can find us all over the internet live. You can follow us at beadshop.com on Instagram, on Facebook at the Bead Table, and you can hit like and subscribe at beadshop.com on our YouTube channel, just so that you don't miss any of our content or pre-recorded content like I'm going to do on Friday. Of course, you can also shop all of the project and products from today's broadcast right on our website on beadshop.com. And don't forget, you guys, to sign up for the newsletter. That's how those of you who nabbed those jewelry boards, those bead boards, knew that they were coming up, because they were in the newsletter. We've got a lot of cool stuff launching in the next few weeks. I've got some more things up my sleeve. We've got that new kit colorway that I promise is coming very soon, as well as I've got another couple of kits that I think you guys are going to really enjoy. So let me get back to the comments, make sure we've got everything covered here. But I can't wait to see what you do with this charm bracelet idea. You know, you can put a few trinkets from your own stash in them to kind of personalize them. They're great for gifts. I mean, it's the end of July already, you guys, and it's time, I hate to say it, right? This whole holiday thing, but it's coming, right? So we want to make sure that this would be a great gift for someone special in your life. So that's it. I will see you live next Wednesday with C Crowns, and tune in Friday for everything you want to know about glue. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.